ED-W1 Italy Sierra Radio, A1ISR, over.
Italy Sierra Radio. So sorry, I was just copying the mail there. What's the name there, India Sierra Radio?
Yeah, the name is Ed, Easy Dog, and I'm running a remote base at my second home location in North Carolina. I'm physically located on Cape Cod in Massachusetts. KC9VKV, K1ISR.
Roger, Roger, Ed, and come back with your transmit location once again.
Yeah, the transmit location is in North Carolina, 20 miles north of Raleigh, North Carolina, over.
Roger, Roger, Ed, and what radio are you using on that remote?
I'm running a FLEX-6400, go ahead.
Roger, FLEX-6400, great radio. Alrighty, and your audio is pretty good for a remote. It doesn't seem to have a lot of processing on it. It could be that you could use maybe a little compression, not a bunch, because usually remote situations are kind of ticklish because you do have sometimes uncontrollable ambient noise levels which play havoc with things. But I would say right now you're in a pretty confined area as far as your background audio, and it would appear to me that there is no processing at all. So you could stand a couple of dB of compression to just fatten you up just a little bit. Roger?
Yeah, okay, very good. I'm actually, according to my indication, I've got 0 to minus 25 dB on the compression. And I'm probably up about 25% compression. I'm not running very much compression, and it seems to have been working pretty good at this point. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. It seems to be about maybe 3 dB, 4 dB dynamic range, which, again, for a remote situation, I think you're doing real well. Roger, Roger?
Yeah, okay, yeah, very good. Yeah, people tell me that the audio is pretty good. And actually what happened was when I first set up this remote base back several months ago, I had just bought a very cheap microphone and just stuck it on for the testing. And the reports of the audio were so good that I just left the microphone alone. Believe it or not, it's like about a $7 microphone, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Now, you're using a cell phone right now, is that a Roger?
I'm sorry. No, I think you asked if I was using a cell phone. No, I'm using a computer. A computer. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, but you are different from your transmitter. You're about what, 300 or 400 miles away from your transmitter?
Yeah, I'm about 700 miles from the transmitter. It's in North Carolina, and I'm on Cape Cod in Massachusetts. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So I would suggest maybe just a little bit more top-end EQ. Your top-end, that's why I thought you might have been on a cell phone, because there's not much in the syllabic range coming through. So maybe just a little bit more treble EQ from your computer side. I think you could do that without any problem, and that would give you just a little bit more syllabic range in your transmit audio. Roger?
Yeah, okay. Well, I could probably change the transmit EQ a little bit. What frequency range are you suggesting?
Ideally would be 2.7K. 2.7K treble EQ boost, maybe 3 dB, 2 dB, somewhere in there. 2.7 KC, Roger?
Yeah, okay. I just did that. I just brought the 2 KC up just a little bit on the EQ. Go ahead.
Roger, Roger. And then everything flat from 400 to 1.6K. You want to be flat through the mid-range from 400 to 1.6K. Roger?
Okay. Well, I've just I have just flattened it out just a little bit. Tell me if you notice any difference right there. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. You sound broader now. You sound more flat now. I think you were pushing maybe the mid-range just a little bit, and I think you were getting some distortion because of pushing that mid-range. So it really sounds a lot less with any degree of distortion now. Roger?
Okay. Yeah, very good. Okay. Well, like I say, people have said the audio sounds good. I've made just a very, very slight adjustment according to what you're doing, and I'm still running the compression roughly about 25%. By the way, you got a great signal here. You're running about 15 over S9 in North Carolina. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Well, today is not a good propagation day. I was only giving 7 to 9 up in around the Canadian border, and usually we're 15 to 20 over up that way. So, conditions vary. Today's not just one of those beautiful days, Roger. It's passable, but not beautiful.
Okay. What are you running for power and an antenna, by the way? Like I say, you're pretty loud.
This is a fairly well-modified Yaesu FT990. It's about a 30-year-old radio, but it's pretty highly modified. Moving into a SV220 up to a no SWR resonant dipole antenna. One leg broadside to Montreal, Canada. The other leg is broadside to Miami, Florida. And when we're setting up our station, we said 20 over from Montreal to Miami with a hotspot through the Carolinas. Roger?
Okay. Yeah, very good. I'm not quite sure how you get the zero SWR. I've played around with my antenna, and I've got it down about 1.4 to 1. That's about it. I'm running a half-wave dipole at 100 feet here. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Well, when you run a dipole with we're not running a transformer up there, so we're running a dipole. One leg is ground, one leg is hot, and when you're running it like that, what I do is I tune for minimum minimum SWR on my ground side, and then I bring it back to the frequency on the high side. And I keep going back and forth. Minimum SWR on the ground side and maximum, or not maximum, but the proper frequency on the high side. Because, when you make any adjustment to an antenna, it's going to shift. So you have to do, you have to dedicate that ground side to tuning your SWR and the high side to bringing it back onto frequency. And what I do is, I don't know if you're familiar with what split bolts are, but I use split bolts at the end of my elements, and they hang down maybe about 6 inches or so, and I just trim the part that's held down by the split bolt. It's a 90-degree angle to the element, and I just clip off maybe half an inch at a time. Roger?
Yeah, I do exactly the same thing. I've got about 6 inches. I get the antenna resonated on the ground, and of course it does change a little bit when I get it up high, and I do exactly the same thing. I'm able to get the antenna up and down relatively easy, but I've made, and pretty well have tuned it about the way you're suggesting, but I got to tell you, after bringing it up and down a dozen times, I'm settling for around the 1.3 to 1. I don't feel as though, even if I get it a little bit lower than that, I don't think I'm going to improve anything. A little bit of reflected power isn't going to be a big problem for me. Go ahead.
Oh yes, that's true. It's actually a game. It's nothing but a game. Past 1.2, it's nothing that nobody's going to say, hey, that's different from yesterday. Nobody's going to know it except you. And so it's me that I want to keep it there. It's actually like a 0.04, somewhere around in there, Roger.
Yeah, okay, very good. Well, I know if you get a little bit higher SWR, as the RF's going down and back up again, you get a very slight loss, but I have pretty well no coax loss. I'm using half-inch hard line pretty well 90% of the way, so I'm not concerned about. I've got about a 240-foot run, so I'm not concerned about any of the loss in the coax bed.
Oh, wow. Well, you got quite a run. Good thing we're on HF and not VHF or UHF, Roger.
Yeah, well, I'm basically a VHF where I've got a couple of runs of 1 1/4 heliax going up the tower and a couple of runs of 7/8. And I had a few runs of 1/2 inch, so I just used one of them for the 40-meter dipole and one for the 80 dipole just because they were there.
Oh, Roger. Now, I use, well, let's see. I use RG8, well, not RG8, but 75 ohm, RG59 and what's the harder, RG11, 75 ohm cable. A lot of it I had, that available. And I'm controlling my own antenna, so if there is any residual reflected power at the end of it, I can control that pretty much on the, my antenna. Roger?
Yeah. If you keep the SWR down, it's not a problem. They're using the RG11U. The only thing with the RG59U is it is a little lossier, but at 80 meters, you might see the difference. But definitely, if you're going to be running the legal limit of power, I'm not sure I'd be using the RG59U. Go ahead.
Yes, I will tell you, RG59U turns to spaghetti at 1100 watts. Roger?
I believe that. I've seen some of the RGAU go up in smoke on 6 meters at the legal limit. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yeah, when you're doing a KW, you need to. Well, I am running 59 on a 5/8 vertical on 10 meters, and I'm only getting probably about 700 watts though on that. Roger.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well, so you're not active at all on 2 meters on sideband, I gather.
No, I just pretty much, I used to, well, I spent, in my first years of amateur radio operator, I was on 11 meters every day talking to San Diego and California and on a loop antenna, a full-wave loop antenna for 11 meters aimed towards San Diego, and I would talk to a guy there every day. He monitored 28400 like I did, and so when I said hello, he said hello back on a daily basis. That was when you could get somewhere with 11 meters. Things have changed now, and so I went from there to about 2 or 3 years on VHF, UHF situations, primarily working regional repeaters down in the mountains of Tennessee and Kentucky. Furthest I did was about 9 times into Asheville on that Mitchell Mountain Mitchell, which is about 6,000 feet, and I've been in there about 9 times. That's about a 405-mile trip on VHF.
Yeah, that's actually that's KC9VKV K1ISR. That's a pretty good run. That's pretty good. I've got a pair of M-squared long boom Yagis. They're 18 elements each up at 110 feet, and we feed that with the one of the 1 1/4 heliax, and of course I'm running an 8877 kilowatt. And I can work out into your area on sideband. I work people, probably about 700 miles away, probably about 600, very consistent. I can work from here up into Canada and down into Florida, but I do work people out in your area, guys.
Yes, sir. Well, we're working regular, not VHF, FM. Not sideband. We never really got into sideband except on HF. Roger.
Yeah, okay, very good. Well, anyway, it's nice to talk to you. There are probably a lot of other stations who would like to get some audio checked, so I'm glad that I was able to work in, maybe just do a little touch-up on it. But it's nice to hear you. I was listening to you for a few minutes, and it's pretty interesting, Jim. KC9VKV, K1ISR, remote base, North Carolina.
Roger, Roger, Ed, and if you want to hear your beautiful audio there, if you go to YouTube, do a call letter search for KC9VKV, followed by the word logbook, that will bring up this recording. It'll be cut number 1 in a series of 2,200 some odd Qso-Vlog aircheck recordings, and I'll have it uploaded by noon tomorrow. Roger?
Okay, very good. Sounds like you're a pretty busy guy. You got yourself a hobby on a hobby. You take care, Jim. Nice chatting with you. KC9VKV, K1ISR.
Roger, Roger, Ed 73, sir. You have a great afternoon, beautiful weekend. And maybe we can get one more in here real quick. This is KC9VKV, the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog net. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.